Hello. So we are just getting started here for our event today with Dr. Jarvis Watson. Um, this is going to be the first of a series of events we're going to have. I see all of our people are joining. Let me get everyone on board here.
Hello. Hi. I'm very excited
Hey,
for this event.
hello there.
Hey,
You all
Dr.
hear any
Watson.
like background noise in the back? Do you hear any like?
I don't hear anything, but Brett, you are frozen on my end.
Oh,
Yeah, same
okay.
here.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, Abby.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so good to
Hmm.
be here.
It's very good to be here. Yeah, Brett, you keep freezing, but everyone
Oh,
else seems to be okay. You're okay
I,
right now, but
I see Brett
okay.
okay. I see Dr. Watson okay.
Is this,
Hey,
am I moving in real time?
yes,
yes, you are.
Okay,
moving in rhythm.
cool. Awesome. All right, so we have everyone here. We have this awesome four-way Instagram
This is
live.
cool.
Um, yeah, this is definitely more convenient than how we used to have to do it. Um,
Mm.
but Dr. Watson, thank you so much for joining us today. I'll just quickly kind of introduce our event, and everyone can introduce themselves, and then we can get started. So, thank you everyone for joining. This is the SVA Student Health and Counseling um, team, and today is our first series for BIPOC Mental Health Month. The name of today's event is Cultivating a Wellness Mindset on Campus, and we're so excited to have Dr. Jarvis Watson join us today. Um, Dr. Watson, hi.
Hey, everyone. Good afternoon to you, everyone else, and pleasure being here and to having great dialogue with some great and we can uh, bring some solutions to some of our students here. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can just do a quick go around. I'm Brett. I'm one of the therapists here at SVA.
And I'm Ariel, and I'm also one of the therapists at SVA. Just want to remind anyone who's watching us, if you have any questions or you want, to say something in the chat, we'll be monitoring it. We'll be answering any questions that we can. So feel free to type away. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
And I'm a registered nurse here at SBA. I'm one of the newer kids on the block, but I've been a nurse for years and I'm excited to be joining you all today in our wellness programming for BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month. And Dr. Watson, thank you so much for taking part with us.
Oh, no, my pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah.
So, Dr. Watson, to just kind of get us started, people, in the SVA community may or may not be already familiar with you and your office. So if you could just kind of give us a little bit of an overview about your position, what your office does, and, the campus initiatives that are related to BIPOC students.
Yeah. I'm in the inaugural director for diversity, equity, inclusion. My pronoun is. And right now, I'm in a position to develop the identity, DEI identity um, on campus. And part of that is developing a diverse learning environment that is really focused on creating more opportunities for engagement, um, opportunities for affirmation, opportunities for voices being heard. Also affecting policies in the ways that bring in more people of color or bring in more voices, more identity that bring more value and more perspectives, actually more creativity to some of the things we're trying to do in art. And I think that we're at a really interesting time right now. In fact, all the things that are happening, voting rights, Black Lives Matter, things that are happening with our Asian students and our Asian faculty and staff in regards to a lot of things being changed in this country. Juneteenth happening recently, and all these things that are bringing more light to those individuals who historically have had either to fight for their voice, have had their voice suppressed, had identity suppressed. And we just came out of Pride Month, which is another example of, utilizing civil rights and taking it to the next level, and to really not be seen, but also be felt, heard, affirmed, respected. So, respect to the LGBTQ community, not just for 1 month, but for the entire year. This is pretty much all marginalized groups. So helping to kind of change the narrative a little bit at this particular institution, all institutions, and I think across the nation, in regards to having one's identity really being repurposed, I think reinvested, and I believe also being brought to the forefront. And some of the things I'm doing right now is actually developing what we call diversity roundtable discussions to help bring more of their voice out. I think a lot of times we can come in as CDOs and chief diversity officer to tell people what they need to be doing, but it's rare that we actually sit down and say, what have you been experiencing? What are you experiencing? What would you like to contribute? What is it that I can do to help you do this? And this has really been helpful. We've done that with the chairs. We did this with our MSU students, Multicultural Student Union, which we're actually working together next week, Tuesday. We just solidified the time. I'll be sending an invitation to you all soon. But sitting down with them and prioritizing some of those things that came out of BIPOC, a statement that came out last summer, really revisiting that and talking about how to put those things into programs, into action items, and to see really how all students, as well as staff and faculty, not just in the DI task force, but across the campus, can really help these students accomplish some of these action items and goals that they're trying to accomplish. That's pretty like the first part right there. I can't tell you exactly what we're doing just yet. It would be too much of a spoiler alert, but I can really feel the energy. I'm looking forward to really putting some of these things that they talked about last year into action this year. So I think going to really empower them, as well as empower me as well, and I think that the rest of the campus to help us to understand that we're all connected and doing what we can to make sure someone's life is better.
That's great.
So,
It sounds like you have been very busy. I
oh
didn't.
yes,
Yes. I don't know if did I cut you off? I just want to make sure
no, no,
because
no, no,
there's a lag on my end.
no, no, no.
Okay, great. I do have a follow-up question because I think it's important. So, it's BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah.
And you said that you've been really hearing from the students about things that they need or they want or that is lacking or, what their needs are in terms of like what we can do on campus for our students. And I'm curious if you have heard any themes or concerns in terms of mental health, in terms of specifically for our BIPOC students, what concerns have been brought up to you or themes that you've seen?
Yeah, and it's unfortunate to have like a little bit of a lengthy list, but these are things that tend to be talked about not here, but at other institutions. But one of the first things is invisibility. Do you see me?
Mm-hmm.
Am I important to you? Do I matter? Which is going back to Black Lives Matter. And that's part of seeing them in places like, let's say, the classroom, or the faculty that look like them, are their peers that look like them. I think we talked about even within the student health counseling center, there are counselors that look like them. They're going to understand where they're coming from. So I think there's this general thing across campus, as well as this institution, about being seen, heard, and affirmed. The isolation factor, being that you might be one of three, one of two, you tend to have the eyes on you. Certain conversations happen. If it's a Black issue, or the LGBTQ issue, or if it's a Asian issue, if you're the one Asian in the classroom, someone looking at you to give all the feedback regarding a certain topic, and it's like, why are you looking? Like I don't represent the entire culture, which is leading to what we call tokenism. Being tokenized in classes, being the recipient of microaggressions, which is pretty much what I just kind of led with on a constant basis. If you don't know what microaggressions are, they're like slights and subtle acts of discrimination that tend to happen, just sometimes by conversation. But if this happens over 15 times a day, every day, it becomes not just a microaggression, but the culmination thereof would really create some type of traumatic experiences where the trigger to be that 16th microaggression that day. And students really don't have the time to kind of explain to you why I'm upset. They just kind of lash out. Feeling like an outsider sometimes, part of that invisibility factor. You might be talking about some things in class. You might have some art conversations, but you may never hear anything associated with your culture or identity. Difficult speaking with faculty and staff sometimes about issues that come from similar backgrounds, or finding a faculty or staff that comes from similar backgrounds they can connect with. We talked about that before. Being able to share an experience with someone that gets them. Sometimes may not just be the fact that I'm with someone they're like me, but do you get where I'm coming from? Can we have a conversation that connects with something that's say political or cultural? Are you able to kind of have that conversation? And when you can't have that conversation, go inward. And if you don't have the peer enclave, that is really key. Where do you go to let that pain? Where do you go to let that where do you go to have that dialogue? Where do you go to have that conversation that usually happens over a bagel, or happens over something to eat, or happens, it just like in passing? Can't, or sometimes you give that look like, you hear what so and so said, and you can't even do that with certain individuals. That isolation, that feeling of, am I just by myself? So looking for more allyship, I think, is what a lot of people are looking for, but also some people that come from the same background, come from the same block, come from the same cultural traditions. Those, when you can't connect with those things, it's a really isolated feeling. So this is some of the things that students have been feeling. Also, within their art, sorry, I'm coming to rambling, being able to express themselves through their art and having their faculty or mentor or peers understand where they're coming from, where certain things might get their head nod, oh, that's great, and give them more time. These students sometimes feel like either the topics that they are familiar with don't get enough time to be spoken about, don't get any type of connection, or really looking at the level, is that being ethnic enough sometimes. That's really a challenge for folks that are looking to themselves through their art, but they're not having a platform to really talk about them. Really, yeah.
I can imagine. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I know
No,
I've been
just
talking a lot.
no,
No,
just based on something you were saying, Dr. Watson. Like, I think that goes to show like just how all of this is so holistic and ties into one another, right? Because if a student is making work, part of the context, right, is like maybe there's not the context being taught of like, oh, like this is the background or this is the culture that this is coming from, and it may not be the typical like Eurocentric traditional way of teaching or material or whatever. So if there's not the context of what's being taught and the different voices and perspectives teaching and what's in the material, then I think too it's like how is someone even supposed to know like the context for that? And you can sort of see where it starts to all tie into one another.
Exactly. I think I'm just thinking about growing up with in the hip hop. That was the greatest thing, because there was this way of expressing it, not just through like voice, but through dance, through culture, through clothes, through conversation. How do you bring politics into hip hop and things like that? How do you enlighten more people about what's happening? If you couldn't get that out, if hip hop was being more censored or being more confined, then you have a lot of people that won't be able to kind of get some of the things they need inside and help you understand a bit more about what they're living in. It's the same thing with art, which is part of what was just all connected. If you can't get your identity and your voice and your lived experiences out through your art, then it's almost like a contradiction. It's also, it can be really confusing. It's like truancy that kind of hangs over you, like you're trying to do your craft. You face all these obstacles, which could really be in a really compromising position.
well, you brought up hip, and that's what I grew up on here in New York City. So, just art and music as, tools in the fight against racism, which is a health emergency in this country, on this planet. And,
Yeah.
part of the experience here in New York City, students are coming in from all over the world,
Right.
they're interacting with each other, and we want to provide, obviously, a platform for awareness, like you're talking about. And obviously, and it may not be obvious, but our team is 100% fully present and committed to that visibility amongst our BIPOC and, everyone that. So first and foremost, yes, you matter, Black Lives Matter, not, like a personal and a political professional, right?
Right.
So speaking of the irony of three white people sitting with you here now, what can us hip allies do besides hosting events like this? I mean, you got to call it out, but we're also, here we are.
Yeah, but I think, I think this is true allyship. You're providing a space for individuals to express themselves, and I think this can be so many different fronts. I would say, big fan of this particular Instagram, social media. I also have a podcast that I'm actually going to have from LGBTQ to talk about what their experience was in Pride Month. I'm not LGBTQ, but I'm an ally. I've been deemed. That's another thing too. People have to realize is say I ain't got my. Sometimes you got to shoulder to be called an ally. I really be able to create a platform where I'm not filtering what they're saying, providing some questions to kind of guide the conversation, but they're a conversation where they would like it. So I think providing more spaces like this on social media, YouTube, conversations where you just have this dialogue. Sometimes you realize the dialogue, there might be some discourse that you may not agree on. That's fine. I think it's important that we do this because there is a cancel culture there that disagree or say something wrong. They're going to cut you out. But I think to really set the stage, we have this stage, say, hey, let's agree to disagree. Let's make sure that we respect each other before we go down. And I think setting that community agreement, setting those stages prior to you having a conversation like this on social media, I think is great because now you're expecting to know that there's going to be some controversy or something, but it doesn't mean that we don't respect each other. I think that's what leaves sometimes out of situations where we have a disagreement. The level of respect tends to fly to window. But once you bring respect to the middle, I think everything starts to be seen and received a little bit different. I would say also, I think we had talked about some things prior to, but I'm working with professors right now to develop different syllabi and work on curriculum to make sure that at the beginning of class, they know that there's a signal of inclusion, equity, and diversity in this particular course before we even get started. Like, there's something nuanced about what's happening. There's pronouns on the syllabi that I probably haven't seen before. There's this language about you can succeed if it's X, Y, and Z. Maybe look at the type of artist in here. Maybe that looks like a Latin name. That might be someone from Asia right there. That might be somebody from African American background. Oh, wait, there's a diversity within the canon. Oh, this is different. So I'm working with the faculty staff right now. I mean, chairs to really start so we create more of a diverse curriculum to make sure people are felt, heard, and seen. And really come from what we talked about, like it hasn't been talked about, but an anti-perspective. And racism not in the aspect of racism not in the majority, but aspect of the systemic aspect of not having the variety, the diversity, not having the opportunity to bring more voices. I'm losing my voice right now. More voices to the table. And this is what we're trying to do. And I think it's a process that's going to take some time, but the ball is rolling right now. So, but I think there's also this accountability we'll have to have. I make mistakes, you make mistakes. And I think the more that we can be more humble and have more humility in the fact that even though we are professors, we are DEI directors, we're human. So we have to make sure that if we do something, we have to fess up to it. And sometimes apology, and that's sometimes not just saying that you're actually doing something. So if I've been doing something in my classroom or doing something in my department that cause harm, let me figure out what I can do tonight. We're going back to anti-harm, anti-racist, anti-bigotry, anti all these. we want to be able to come with the positive to make sure people know that this is a place that I can grow. I can connect with folks. I can develop my identity without having to judge or feel like I might be chastised because of what I represent. So, I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh, but the aspect of allies. That's one thing we also want to work on. How does one become an ally?
Mm.
You know, there's a process.
Right. Awareness, first and foremost, awareness, right? Awareness of the world, awareness of the experience of people in your neighborhood, who you grew up with. You have talking about 50 microaggressions a day, multiplied by a lot, shared by everyone and everyone it looks like.
Right.
So awareness, first and foremost, just open your eyes and see the experience of
Man,
that community of people that maybe are not familiar with, but that's not a help.
and to do that, there's a certain care that you have. Do I care to learn the group? Is it just because it's my job, or is it because, like I said, we're all human? The fact that I talked about hip hop, you're like, oh, that's my era. You know, there's something that connects all of us, and you have to find that because it's real easy to hear or believe that, oh, that group is a problem, that group is an issue, that group, that, but we're not understanding our process. I'm saying I'm into my psychology now. There's an aspect of being a part of the process. We help with understanding bias. There's understanding the we all are subjected to different aspects. What do we see, feel, touch, hear, all these things. A lot of those things are like massaged, so to speak, by our cues and filters. Our cues tell us something is going off, something is wrong, something's out of whack. Our filters, being our mothers, our fathers, our religion, our media, our things that we read, tell us that because of whatever, that's what this is the indication of that. Then we must start making assumptions. And everybody knows that whole thing with assumptions, right? I'm not going to say it on here because we're trying to get in trouble, but you assume blah, 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 blah. But those assumptions also lead to behaviors that could be detrimental, which is violence, microaggressions, um, saying certain things that are really out of whack, creating policies to put in place. And these are things that lead to the consequences of demeaning folks, putting people in different corners, the stereotyping, the lack of resources in certain areas. All these things come from the fact that if I just kind of check my filter, check my cues a little bit more to kind of question, challenge what I'm seeing and hearing and feeling, things like that, that helps me become a better ally. That just can't be true. Let me do some more investigation. Let me read. A lot of people don't read either, and let me investigate before I make a rash decision or a judgment. And I think the more, and I'm trying to help develop more of those processes of how to check oneself before they go too far. And I do that personally. And when I hear a certain office, it must have been, right, let me hear all the facts. Let me see what's happening. Let me get both sides of the story, and let me move forward. And then make it forward with something that is appropriate with the situation that happened. And I think also when students know that there's someone who has their back, not just the DI, everybody's on the page doing that, I think the anxiety goes down. I think the belief that someone cares about me goes up. I think my ability to come through and be as creative, connected to this institution is that much greater because of those barriers broken down. Those apprehensions of, or the fear of, is somebody going to connect with me? Does somebody care about me? Yes, it's being evidenced because of how we approach them. I'm sorry. Am I talking to you? Am I going in?
No.
No, is somewhat of a twofold approach from our as a department at the company, right? Because here's this brief window of time are at us trying to make wonderful things and contribute to the world, and also experiencing racism or them or whatever. So get to experience how it outside the real world provide all these services and connectivity and visibility during the experience, and then how does that prepare you as an artist to successfully going out into the world and then negotiating that? Is it all over again, or did we provide enough of a foundation to navigate that in the meantime and support our students during their
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm having a hard time hearing both Dr. Watson and Abby. Would you guys mind just maybe putting in headphones? I think we got a couple comments too about the audio just kind of cutting in and out. Just want to make sure everyone can hear all the wonderful things everyone is talking about.
And while you
here.
are commenting, please, ask us questions. Please feel free to add other comments. But thank you for letting us know that you're having some trouble hearing.
Yeah.
All right. Hold on. Just make sure these connect. Oh, actually, hold on one second. Keep going, keep going.
This is the fun part of doing events like this.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I guess we could also take this moment while both Dr. Watson and Abby are getting their earphones together, just to say that this is one event out of 4 events that we're doing this month for BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month. So please keep checking back on SVA Today and also on our Instagram. We'll be advertising all the events that are going on. A lot of them are going to be on Instagram Live. So we're really excited to have everyone. We're really, looking forward to all the programming that's coming up. Brett, can you talk to what the next program is? I believe it's
I would.
the Dream. Yes, we do have a special guest taking over. Oh, wait, actually, I'm not sure which one is first. Let me go double check.
Now I'm looking for my headphone. Bear with us, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Is the audio any better for you guys?
Much better.
Yes, yeah.
Much better.
My apologies.
No, it's okay. I was thinking too when Dr. Watson was talking before, I think a lot of what he was just talking about kind of really intersects with, the mental health realm too, and how, microaggressions and that feeling of not being seen, not being heard, invisibility, your identity sort of actively being denied or not seen, creates all sorts of mental health issues, and it can sort of exacerbate anxiety, depression that's already there. It can certainly contribute to it. And we see that all the time when people's identities are not even just acknowledged, but sort of welcomed. It certainly has all sorts of negative mental health and physical health impacts, and I think that's kind of where all this too kind of interacts with what we see and what we deal with in student health and counseling.
Yeah. I may have to jump on my other phone. If I come out, I can bring me back in.
Yeah, you'll be able to come back.
Yeah, and I'll answer that. So keep talking.
Okay.
I think what we can also talk about as 3 of us right now, being from student health and counseling, what supports we can provide for students.
Right.
The fact is that we are an office that provides mental health support, but we also can refer to other mental health providers. We have a list of BIPOC friendly and BIPOC accepting therapists that are on our link tree, which I'll put up the link to the link tree. It's actually also on student health, on our student health account. It is a link under our bio. So we are here, we are providing therapy, but we can also provide referrals. We can also talk about, what other community resources there are. And just so for everyone watching, our next event is on July 19th, and it is a vision board party. where you're gonna meditate and create for BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month. And we are having Purple take over our Instagram. And Purple is the founder of WOC Sister Collective, Women of Color Sister Collective. So it's going to be really exciting. So that is our next event.
All right. Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Much better?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
So
the
yeah,
last question, yeah.
yeah. So we were just kind of mentioning, what Ariel was saying. Not only are we here for students, we are also, trying to be good community members too, and have as wide a net for resources as possible.
Right.
So we understand, students for a whole variety of reasons may want to meet with someone outside of the school in the community.
Yeah.
And, we've really been trying to not only shore up like our resources in New York, but since now students are scattered all over the world, trying to have a better sense of what those resources look like nationally and internationally, and so people can get the support in their own communities if that's possible.
Yeah, yeah. I know one of the things we're trying to do also is connect with some of the museums in New York City, some of the professional organizations that have a student component to them that are
Hmm.
connected with one's identity. So, for example, I'll just give you one example. The Studio Museum in Harlem. We have made a connection with that particular location and should be meeting up next week to work with the Career Development Office and their internship and fellowship components to start developing more pipelines for our students to work with that museum. How, in addition to that, there's some other opportunities for when there are exhibits, they'll be reaching out to us and say, hey, if anybody wants to see said artists, they'll be at the Studio Museum in Harlem on this particular date. That also offers opportunities for mentorship, exposure, having that one-on-one networking kind of opportunity that you'll probably meet more like-minded people there. So we want to do this not just with the Studio Museum in Harlem, but the Gay Center that's out in not too far from where SBA is. There's an indigenous organization that's out there as well. There's El Museo that we would love to be a part of as well. So we're trying to find as many identities as possible, even those that intersect, to have a situation where students, if they're searching for their identity in their particular industry, will have those pipelines and pathways for them to kind of connect with. So it's like there's a group they have on campus, and now they have this other thing that they can escape from, so to speak, and be on that almost like one foot out the door as they are starting to develop their professional identities, but within a context of being around folks that they could just be, with. So this is going to be a really exciting conversation I'm having with them next week. But I think going into the fall, I would love to kind of have another conversation to see like what the improvement has been or what the changes or impact has been with our students based off the fact that they had these interactions.
Yeah, it sounds like such a great partnership. So, as SVA, administrators, at least in our experience, I think maybe I can speak collectively for us in student health. Often what our recommendations are for how to help support your mental health may not always be like echoed in other areas, right? Because people are being told different things, right? We're constantly telling people the importance of sleep and diet and exercise and, not staying up until, 6 a.m. every night to get your work done. And, that's not realistically like what people are really being told in order for like how they're supposed to succeed and what being an artist looks like and what being a professional looks like. So what do you think like we can do as, administration to help foster more of a culture of wellness in the departments? Because we know how hard people are working and how stressful, the stuff they're doing is.
Oh, wow. I think bringing in more examples of what you're talking about, bringing in guests like myself, bringing in artists or bringing in people they look up to share, like, how do they restore, how do they revive, how do they stay on target, how do they I haven't achieved this, how do they achieve balance,
Hmm.
hearing some of their narratives, because they hear from us all the time. We tell them the same thing, but we have somebody from outside come in. It's like, yeah, I drink tea, or I sleep 8 hours a day, or I do yoga, or I go to church, or I go to mosque, or I go to temple. Um, I pray in the morning and before I go to night and go to bed at night. Um, I go to parks and read and things like that. Once you have these other examples coming in and you match their lifestyle with their, I guess, self restoration techniques, it's like, oh, wait a minute, you still have time to take care of yourself, even though you're out there doing, yeah. Because if this is not being taken care of, you don't take care of your temple. What good are you to yourself or anyone else? And I think the people that you also bring to the table have to have that sense of authenticity, that genuineness, to say, I'm not just telling you this so I can sell Bigelow tea. I'm telling you this because I want to be able to be that person at 80, 85, who's still out there performing, still out there connecting, still out there traveling, and realizing that all those things contributed to how I led my life. And everybody who out there who's a artist, whatever, doesn't have to indulge in a lifestyle that is detrimental. And I don't want to kind of point some things out, but a lot of things that get promoted, a lot of drug use, and a lot of things that, sometimes the people that you talk about, these Mollies and Percocets, don't even use it themselves. So we got to be careful. You have to interrogate what you're listening to and say, wait a minute, this person said he gets through it by doing this. But let me see the adverse effects that come along with me drinking too much Bigelow tea, with me, and now that I think certain drugs are being legalized right now, what are the benefits and what are the cons with this? We just saw something this recently with Sha'Carri Richardson, who was the fastest woman I've ever seen, smoking weed and still blows everyone out the water. I'm like, wait a minute. If she didn't smoke weed, would she have gone faster? But the thing is, there are these things that if we're not learning how to cope, and she said this too. I'm glad we talked about this. She said, I had to learn how to use better coping techniques. And I'm glad she said, I own up to my what I did. I was going through a rough time. I should have done something a little bit differently, but I wasn't too clear on that. And I was like, don't apologize for losing your mother. But she was making sure that she's to send a message out to all those younger folks out there who probably running track or going through some similar issues with loss. This is not the only way that you cope. There are other ways. Maybe I should have got therapy. Maybe I should have done X, Y, and Z. Maybe I should have breathed a little bit differently. Maybe I should have burned some incense in addition to praying and getting some spiritual healing, as opposed to doing this other thing. Even though it was my legal right too, that wasn't the best thing, because I'm also have an obligation as a track runner to do X, Y, and Z. And I was really on the fence about how I felt about her not being able to run. But I said, as an ex-athlete, I knew that there were certain things I couldn't put into my body. There's certain things I couldn't use to enhance my performance, like steroids and some other stuff that you put into your body. If those were the rules, then she owned up to it, and I'm glad that she did it, because now somebody's thinking, okay, maybe there are other ways of addressing loss. There's other ways of addressing adverse effects. There's other ways of addressing traumatic experiences that doesn't always have to be connected with what everybody else does. So it's
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think, I certainly hear that, right? Where if you sort of think about the like stereotypical artist lifestyle, at least historically, it's not always, one that's particularly like healthy, and you have great habits and you're really taking care of yourself. There's sort of like a romantic idea of how certain things should be. But I think hearing more examples of, their peers, right, and people who are doing that work already, and I think that mindset's slowly changing, right, where people are recognizing like it's not sustainable to
that's the
do
key
certain
word.
things.
That's my buzzword. That's the nursing word. What is sustainable?
I also think that there's I think there is this misconception that in order to be successful, or not even need to be successful, but this idea that struggling you should struggle, you should be feeling this way. And I think that ends up being a barrier a lot for seeking any kind of help. Well, like, oh, I'm struggling, but everyone else is struggling, or someone's struggling worse than
Right.
me, or, I have
Hmm.
to suck it up, or this is what being an artist is, this is what being a person is, this is what, my family says. And I think that we oftentimes just accept that struggling is a part of
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. This well, if I'm from this area, then this is how it is, and how it's
Mm-hmm.
always been. And I have to, as thinking about this, I think the education that we give each other, like like what you all are doing, is really key, because I'm thinking also the support system that you have around you is very key. In my research, I realized that one of the things that made BIPOC, especially males, successful is their peer enclave. Is the 4 or 5 people they have around them. Now, if everybody's reading books, if everybody's sleeping at the same time, if everybody's partying and within certain parameters, everybody's going to be successful. But if everybody's overindulging in all these other extracurricular activities, you're going to be as successful as the 4 people around you. Who on that team is saying, like, hey, if you're going to do something, maybe you should go to therapy. Hey, I went to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I helped out one of my colleagues who's going through some stuff, and I could recognize certain things. I was going through the same thing. I go to a therapist. I was like, hey, I would suggest based off X, Y, and Z. After hearing them out, developing the trust, reestablishing the trust, say maybe it might be beneficial for you to see someone, and he did. And I'm thinking, if I was a person, say, well, maybe you should take a fifth of vodka and just go as fast as you can, being that helped me out, maybe it'll help you out too. But that's not the kind of advice I want to give my friend. I want to be able to have people around me that are supportive, and they don't always have to look like me. They could be from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different genres, different disciplines. But as long as we all kind of like are like-minded in the aspect, we want to be successful in life. We want to have the better things without having to compromise our health, especially our mental health. That's who you want to surround yourself with, and I believe that's key. And I'm thinking about something that made me almost probably gonna make me break down a little bit. There was some students I was working with back in my old school, and one of the students was going through some stuff. And based off the fact that we educated them on how to recognize when your fellow peer is going through some stress, without giving too much information, they say when they recognized this young lady was going through something, her friends rallied around her and saved her life, literally. And there's a reason why. And when I see them in pictures today, hanging out, I'm like, that could have been a different story if they weren't listening to what I was, or we were telling them something different in regards to looking out for your fellow peer. All these things that we're sharing with whoever's listening, please know that we're trying to save your life right now. We're trying to make sure that you put things into your mental toolbox to make sure that you're going to be sustained. I like that word sustainable. Sustained over a long time, because you have something that you need to offer to this world. And I'm thinking everything we say to these young people is really key, because if we say the wrong thing, or we keep saying something that's going to be detrimental, even to our peers, you never know what somebody's going through that they might take that the wrong way. So we always want to send something that's positive, something that's uplifting. Sometimes if people don't want to hear it, if you know that's going to help them out, it's going to be key, because you never know when that situation is going to affect you or someone else. So you got to be able to share that, teach one. Yeah.
Yes. Maintain a warm invitation at all times. That's my
Yes.
approach. Yes.
Man, got me thinking. Almost have me choke up just now, man. This is
It's the only way through,
yeah.
is with each other, with this awareness you're speaking of. And we can catch it before it gets to that point where we're intervening to save someone's life. We can intervene to, help someone's sleep schedule, help someone coping with class, help someone with that visibility you're talking about. Are they connecting with their peers? This networking you're talking about, working with local museums, is huge. I mean, New York City is both, the daunting challenge and the ultimate opportunity as well. It's got
Yeah.
both going for it in that sense. So that's
Yeah.
exciting to hear that.
You know what? And I think something we haven't talked about, but being present. I mean, you don't have to know everyone's cultural background or lived experience, but to be present, I think
Yeah.
that's a key aspect of being an ally.
Mm.
You know, as someone's talking, just not like going off like, oh, that's nice. Oh, oh,
Right.
be present.
But actually listening and taking it in
Yeah,
and being aware of their experience. Yeah.
Mhm. It's like you
yeah.
don't have to say much to be present. It's more about listening than anything else.
Yeah, empathy is something I think we don't talk about as much as we need to. You know, I think it
Right.
always comes up as that oh, empathy, yes, that's no empathy. You gotta be
It's
present.
not part of the culture. We
Yeah,
live
yeah.
in this culture where it's competitive and, you're going to work one over to get ahead. And it's like, that is the reality of the competitive world.
Hmm.
But coming back to what is sustainable in terms of your success in that world, can we broker the best possible option for our students,
Right, right.
the
Yeah,
best possible path forward?
because if they succeed, hey man, that makes me go to sleep a lot better. Makes me take that train a lot more a lot more emphasis of getting home so I can get some sleep and get up
Mhm.
and do it again the next day. Yeah, this is for me to know that what we're doing um can be shared and can be replicated and can be you know given to the right individual at the right time. Hopefully they're listening at that time when they get this, that to know that someone cares about them, to know that all they have to do is reach out to us if you want somebody to hear you out. And I hopefully, when I get on campus, I think should be on campus sometime in July. I want to create a space, and this is something we all can do. We can create these spaces in our offices with social distancing, with our masks, to have a place for students just to be. And I think if anything, I would like to have my office do is create not just the programmatic aspect or the leadership development, but come just take your hat off. I don't know if I kick your shoes off, but put your bag down, put your bag down, and just hang out and tell me about your day.
Where's your
Sometimes it's
office going to
all
be located?
it's going to be 133rd. No, hold on, 21st Street West. One, hold on, I gotta get it right. West 21st Street, right? Is that how you say it? 133.
133.
I'm not sure what floor just yet, but I'll know by July 20th. Then I can update you all on that.
Good to know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, are there any last thoughts that anyone has for today? We had such a great discussion, and Dr. Watson, thank you so much for just taking your time and sharing your thoughts and being on our campus and meeting with us. But
Oh,
is there any last thoughts that you have? Anything, just to sum up today?
take invest in yourself.
Hmm.
Invest in your temple. Invest in those things that give you joy, that give you strength, that give you power. Because this is like I said, it's a harsh world out here. Um, and if you don't see the strength and the value within yourself, don't try to see how you get it from. It's going to be hard for you to kind of get it from other places. Start investing inside your temple, but also understand that there is an office just like this on campus, virtually, so you can get there physically or through teleconferencing that you can connect with someone who looks out for you. My office is designed to help spread that notion across campus. And there's people out there that really want to help you. You just have to kind of take that risk and reach out to them. But if something should happen, know that my office is here. We're here to help you walk through it, and not walk through it alone. Walk through it with some guidance. But for the most part, you matter. Your presence on this campus matters, and we're going to do everything that we can possible to make sure that you are sustaining your presence here, but also out in the world. So,
I don't think we could have said anything better than what you
Yeah.
just said.
yeah,
um, So thank you so much. And to echo, yes, we are here as well. Our office is open. We're here. We want to talk to you. We want to support you. If you have any questions about our office, you can give an email to our health account, which is health@sva.edu, and you can be directed wherever from that account is the best way to kind of reach us. And we are looking forward to our continued work with you, Dr. Watson. I know this will not be the last event or the last thing that we do together.
Oh no, I'm putting my
Yeah.
email in there just in case.
Awesome.
And I'll put
Yep.
ours as well.
And hopefully meeting one day in person.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So I'll be there soon. But it's been a pleasure. It's my honor to be working with you all,
Thank
and
you
I
so
look forward
much.
to working with you in other capacities, and hopefully referring some students to you all. And you all are doing some great things, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. Yeah.
Thank you
We are
so
so
much.
happy. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. And just as a reminder, we have our next program. I actually skipped a program, which I don't want to. Our next program is actually on July 14th. It is an Instagram live discussion on overcoming barriers to mental health care. So please join us for that. We're really excited for that next discussion. And that is at 11:30.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right now.
Be safe, everyone.
Be safe.
Bye.
Be healthy.